Hello all and welcome to Scope Parent Training Workshop Series. My name is Ashwini Shinoy and I'm the Parent Support Specialist at Scope. I'm joined on this call by my colleague Kshitija, also a Parent Support Specialist. Scope is an initiative of the SKN Foundation. The mission of Scope is to support South Asian families of children with special needs through activities that educate, advocate, and empower. Tonight, we are talking about planning for the future, life after us. Thinking of the future can be pretty scary when we have children with disabilities. I'm sure all of us have had some sleepless nights at some point or the other over this. Scope has invited the art of New Jersey to talk to us about how we can be better prepared for the future. We have with us Michael Pearson Jr., the Director of Children's Advocacy at the ARC of New Jersey. Michael remains active with the families of the ARC and statewide parent groups, shaping the program advocacy efforts to directly reflect issues faced by children with IDD and their families. By maintaining relationships with state agencies and members of the New Jersey legislature, Michael is able to affect policy changes to improve service systems and secure much needed funding for children with IDD. He is a knowledgeable consultant for disability legislation, including the ADA, IDEA, and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Michael graduated from Monmouth University with a bachelor's degree in communication. He advocates for people with IDD and their family and is an ally of the disability rights movement. We are so happy to have you here with us, Michael, and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you so much for volunteering your time to educate and in turn to empower our community. Families, if you have questions pertaining to this topic, please note them in the chat and we will address them in the Q&A segment of this workshop. After the Q&A, please participate in the poll for your feedback. With that said, the stage is all yours, Michael. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashwini, and thanks to Scope Foundation, the Scope Group for having me out today. So yes, my name is Michael Pearson Jr. I'm the Director of Children's Advocacy at the ARC of New Jersey. This presentation was developed by Lisa Ford, who's the Senior Director of the ARC of New Jersey Family Institute. That's a program that provides information, advocacy, and education for individuals with disabilities and their families. The ARC is an organization that was founded by families. So it's really important to us to keep families and parents in the loop about everything that we do, everything that we're going to do. And we always make sure to have parents on our boards and that we maintain close contact with them to make sure that we're understanding the needs of families of individuals with IDD. So we help with things like resource and referral. So when families, reach out to us, they'll normally fill out a problem form or an intake form on our website. We try to provide direct service. In my side of things, I do a lot of assistance with special education. So families reach out to me looking for a non-attorney advocate to consult with them on modifying an IEP or attending an IEP meeting with them. If there's scenarios where, what a family's looking for is a little bit outside of what we're able to do, we're always able to connect that family with the correct organization that can provide them direct services. Part of what we do is maintaining relationships with other organizations to make sure that, if we can't provide a service for a family, we're making sure that they're getting connected to the proper services. So, I always say my advocacy efforts are on two fronts. One is the individual advocacy. So like I said, consulting with families on special education or guardianship, providing that direct service, going to meetings with them, helping them access the systems like Perform Care and DDD. And then the other side of it is systems advocacy. So we try to work really closely with the New Jersey legislature. We also try to work closely with the New Jersey service agencies like Department of Health, Department of Education, the Department of Human Services, and the Department of Children and Families, just to name a few. We develop a ton of resources. We try to take really dense subjects and make them easy and digestible for parents. I think, specifically, I always go back to the special education resources, and that, the IDEA and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act can be really confusing topics for families to understand. There's a lot of material involved in learning about them. And families who have a child with a disability and work full-time and are also the primary caregiver may not have time to read through all of those things, right? So we try to have a series of fact sheets that make this information really accessible. We keep families in the loop with action alerts and our email list. I definitely encourage everybody to sign up for our email list. We have a newsletter that goes out every month for families, and then we also have a special education specific newsletter that goes out every month. We offer presentations through our own webinar series, through other organizations as well. I have a Facebook Live series called Mondays with Michael. We were actually just having a conversation about that earlier. They're quick 10-minute chats about a topic related to special education every Monday at 10 a.m. So there are other programs at the Arkham, New Jersey, besides Children's Advocacy and the Family Institute. We have the Criminal Justice Advocacy Program, Project Hire, who presented for this organization last year. They are our supported employment program. We have the Self-Advocacy Project, who aims at getting individuals to be self-advocates, make decisions about their lives, get out and vote, get involved in their communities. Really great program. There's Governmental Affairs, Mainstreaming Medical Care. If anybody ever has a question about SSI or Medicaid benefits, Beverly Roberts is the director of Mainstreaming Medical Care. We always say that she's the Medicaid guru. She knows everything about Medicaid, and her wealth of knowledge is unmatched. We also have a summer camp called Camp JC, and then planning for adult life too. So that focuses on transition to adulthood. So getting into today's topic, advanced care planning and what to do when you're thinking about the future. As a parent, I know, so I'm not a parent, but for parents, I know this can be a difficult topic to discuss. Like Ashwini mentioned, I'm sure some of you have had sleepless nights thinking about guardianship and, maybe a special needs trust, or who's going to make decisions, who's going to take care of my child when eventually I'm no longer around. I know it's a difficult topic to discuss, but we have to be realistic about this. One day we're not going to be around, and our child is going to have to make supported decisions about their own life, and we're going to have a support system set up already for when that happens. Okay, so people are always thinking about establishing their own will and special needs trust, but you also have to think about your loved one's end of life as well, and what will happen when they're not around. Okay, so think about what's important to you. Share your values and goals with others and other family members. Try to get information about any life-sustaining treatments that are available, any medical services as well. So think about this. What is most important to your loved one, right? If you have a child with a disability and you're thinking about their future, what's important to them? Is it staying connected to family? Is it having a job? Is it living in a certain area? All right, think about all of those things. If we use an example of that, let's say a family, let's say a single mother has a son named Adam. Adam is 25 years old. He has an intellectual or developmental disability. He lives at home with the parent. He has a full-time job. What would happen? Think about what would happen if the parent passed away. right? Would he have to move far away to live with a sibling? Would he be able to get a community-based housing placement? Would he be able to live independently? So thinking about all of these things is where you start. If Adam loves his job and he loves the community that he lives in, there's, it's important that he has the opportunity to stay in that community and stay in that job. So creating a plan for when you pass away for him to stay there is key. So, we always recommend families, if you haven't already, obviously get set up with DDD, get access to those services. If an individual has the opportunity to live independently, whether it's in a supervised apartment setting or a group home or another community-based residential program, that's a great opportunity for them to learn to build skills, right? Learn how to do laundry, learn how to assist in cooking and cleaning, and also building social skills and learning those crucial skills for adulthood. Okay. You also have to think about spiritual and religious beliefs too. And making sure that if they're a part of a local religious group that they're able to remain associated with them when the parent passes away. So you can have what's called a letter of intent. And this really describes any information about daily needs, supports, legal and financial matters that a person with IDD may have. That letter of intent should communicate the family and that individual's intentions for the future. And it's a really good resource during times of transition. I think the letter of intent is a great place to start because it gets all of your ideas onto paper. So even before you go through and set up a special needs trust, or you start to get the individual set up with a residential placement or any other services, your letter of intent is something you can sit down with your family and work on independently by yourselves and get all of your plans and ideas on one piece of paper, or probably two, because sometimes they are lengthy. So keep the individual as involved as possible in their own planning. I think so many times, parents have this vision for their child, but their child has a completely different vision, right? I think about myself growing up. I'm sure my parents, thought that maybe wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or, anything, but I chose my own path. And individuals with disabilities are no different, right? They have their own strengths, challenges, and their own desires to be their own person and do the things that they want to do. So, and it goes beyond just employment. It goes into what they want to do for hobbies, where they want to live, if they want to live with a roommate, if they want to live by themselves. All of these things should be taken into consideration. So, I talk to a lot of families who are, have children that are 14, 15, just getting into high school, and they're just starting to do this transition planning in IEPs. And I always tell families, and some families take it better than others, but I always say, you kind of got to let your son or daughter make some decisions, right? I think about, like, for our self-advocacy project at the Arc of New Jersey, always pushes for that, always pushes for individuals to make decisions about their own lives. And we always say that get that started as early as possible, whether they're younger and they're making decisions about what they're going to have for lunch or what they're going to wear to school one day. The earlier you can get that decision making in, the earlier you can start having them make more and more important decisions, so that by the time they reach adulthood, they're ready to make financial decisions, medical decisions, even if it's with support, but to feel comfortable speaking up in those scenarios. I think too many times parents are making all of the decisions for their child and saying, my child has a disability. I need to make all of their decisions for them. I can't let them make any mistakes. But you have to let them make mistakes. Think about when you're gone. If you make every decision for your child and do everything for them and don't ever let them make a mistake, when you're gone, they're not going to be ready to step in and make those decisions about their own life. So keep them as involved as possible in this planning. So, like I mentioned, think about the things that you do to help maintain his or her well-being, right? Housing issues, purchasing clothing, birthdays, all of these things, and try to work them into the plan for the future. You think about the resources, right? Benefits, especially for individuals who receive SSI or SSDI. You always want to make sure that the plan is in place so they don't lose their benefits. One of the things about that is if you pass away and you have one child and that child has a disability and they have SSI benefits and you leave everything to them, you leave your house, you leave an inheritance to them, that affects their Medicaid benefits because they now have all of these assets that put them over the asset limit, and they could lose their Medicaid coverage, which in turn would make them lose DDD services. So that's why we always talk about the importance of a special needs trust or an ABLE account. So if you pass away and you leave your house or you leave a financial inheritance to your child, but you leave it to the special needs trust instead of the individual, that protects them from losing their benefits. So also thinking about who is going to be the primary caregiver, and every individual is different in that scenario. Some individuals really require 24-hour care. Other individuals are very independent and might just want someone to pop in once a week to see how everything's going. So think about that. If it's going to be a sibling, if it's going to be another family member, maybe they have a friend, or if there's a family friend. Think about all those things. We call them natural supports. So not hired staff, but individuals who know the person and can help provide some of that support. So this is a list of questions, and I'm not sure if I mentioned already, I'm going to make all these slides available to everybody because I know there's a ton of information. So I don't want anyone to miss anything. So I'll make sure that I get a copy out to everybody. But think about answering these critical questions when you're putting together your plans. Where will my child live? Who will handle their money? Who will be the trustee of the special needs trust? Who will serve if that person cannot? Who will know my child well enough to advise the trustee about his or her needs, right? So these are things that you often need. If you think about guardianship too, who's going to be the guardian if they need one? So, an individual does not always require full guardianship. There are alternative options, such as supported decision-making. And then you think about who's going to be the backup in that scenario, okay? I think a lot of times too, have a conversation with your child about that, or your adult child about that, and see who they feel comfortable working with a lot. Okay, so there's 12 steps here to creating a life plan. This is a lot of text. So again, I'm going to make sure this is available for everybody, but I'll go through them really quickly because I don't want to spend too much time on it. But building a circle of those friends, family, and those natural supports, right? Have that thorough plan that addresses everything, but also make sure it's flexible because people's interests and desires change over time, right? So, I'll use myself as an example for everything. My career goals at age 18 were significantly different than they are now at age 32. When I was 18, I maybe said, okay, I want I want to be on the radio and I want to have a broadcasting career. And now at age 32, I say, okay, well, I've found this niche, working for the Arc of New Jersey. This is a path I really enjoy, and I want to continue down this path. So people change and people's interests change over time. Okay, have that letter of intent ready in your own words. Select a guardian, power of attorney, conservator for the estate, and an advocate to help them carry out their wishes as expressed in the letter of intent. Determine any of the realistic costs associated with your life plan. So whether it's funeral costs, whether it's attorney's fees for setting up a special needs trust, transportation, medical expenses, recreation costs, anything like that. There's sometimes a cost of also if you have a guardianship through the state, right, or a private advocate. Think about all of the financial resources, like government benefits, insurance, all of these things. You want to really make sure that they're in line, so that there's no lapse in services and benefits from the time the parent passes away. You want to make sure that the individual maintains their benefits throughout that entire span. Make sure if you're doing a special needs trust, or a last will or an ABLE account, and you're going to hire an attorney, make sure that the attorney specializes in special needs trusts. Just because someone is an attorney doesn't mean they know everything about Medicaid law and special needs trusts. So you want to get somebody who specializes in that. And we do have some resources that we can share with families if you're considering that too. Plan NJ, or Plan New Jersey, is a fantastic organization that we always refer families to when they're looking for legal assistance preparing a special needs trust. Like I said, getting the special needs trust together. If you didn't do it yet, do it as soon as possible. And also look into those ABLE accounts too. ABLE accounts are a little bit more flexible in terms of what the individual can use the money for. And they're also tax sheltered, and they have a variety of investment options that the individual can choose from, because that's kind of a cool feature of the ABLE accounts, is that the individual can say, okay, I want to do a more aggressive investment strategy or a more conservative investment strategy. And there's some nice options in there that an individual can choose from. It's similar to a college savings account. So make sure that all of these documents, everything, the special needs trust, the life plan, the letter of intent, any legal documents and birth certificates, social security card, whatever you got, put it all in one place. My own mother has a fire safe box at her house for all of our documents. Still, yes, but if you get a fire safe, that's great. But whatever you're doing, just make sure they are all in one place, clearly labeled. Bring that circle of natural supports together to review the total plan with the individual. And remember to let them know where those documents are stored also. You don't want people tearing through the house only to find out that it was just in like that one drawer the whole time. And so, when I mentioned that people's interests change over time, this is a great opportunity. Review those plans annually. I think the same way you would do an IEP, right? You get the team together every year, you review progress that was made, you review where the individual wants to go, what they want to do, and you create the plan. So review that plan annually and make changes as necessary. You can answer, make sure you're answering some questions about who will visit the child. If there's any medical issues, who keeps family members informed about the individual, who will make sure that caregivers know the wishes that you have for your child. Okay, think about birthdays, right? Is anyone going to give them a call or celebrate their birthday with them? Who makes sure that they can go to church, or they can go to temple, or practice their religion? Who makes sure that they're able to attend any recreation, whether it's a class or a sports league or anything, if they're not utilizing their own transportation to get there. So like I said, contact Plan NJ. They are very knowledgeable on putting everything together. And like I said, I'll share these slides so you'll have that information that is there. So the end-of-life planning can include an advanced healthcare directive, estate planning, funeral planning, obituary and death notice, and end-of-life housing too. So you can use this checklist as well. Think about whether it's going to be a will or a special needs trust, have a list of the assets. Think about those housing plans as well. If the individual lives at home with you, what's the transition plan going to be? What type of setting do they want to live in? Is there housing available in the area for them? So it's good to have these together ahead of time, so it's not other people scrambling at the last minute to put all this together. All right, so we do get a lot of questions about guardianship. So for an individual that has a guardian, that person will make all of the healthcare decisions and the end of life decisions for the individual with IDD. However, like I said, guardians should plan ahead and have a secondary plan in place in the event of their passing. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I highlighted a couple of these resources here: the New Jersey Department of Health Advanced Directive and Frequently Asked Questions, and then the Advanced Care Planning Workbook. And you'll be able to access these when I share the slides. Okay. All right, so end-of-life housing resources here too. The 5 types of end-of-life housing and care, new rules for palliative care in New Jersey as well. So I wanted to jump ahead here a little bit because, you know, the hospice and you know, end-of-life housing, it's important, but I really wanted to talk about writing a will because it makes sure that all of your wishes are in place for what's going to happen when you're no longer around. If you do not create a will, the court system will make decisions for you. And, you know, it's similar to what we say about self-advocates, is that, you know, we want people to make decisions about their own life, because if they don't make those decisions, someone else will, and you might not like the result of it, right? So think about who is going to oversee your estate when you pass. If you have children under 18 or adult dependent children, who is going to care for them? So like I said, have the will in place, because you need to make sure that that plan is ready, so the individual's life is not completely thrown into the air and create a unstable scenario. So, excuse me. When we're looking at the difference between a will or a trust, there is a common misconception that trusts are only for the high society, very wealthy people. But the reality is, anybody who owns property or assets worth more than 160,000 should have a trust. So if you own a home, get a trust. I'll make it that simple. Not only do trusts protect you, your loved ones, and your legacy once you're gone, they also offer privacy. And when your estate is held in a trust, your loved ones will avoid the costly, painful, messy public process of probate. Also, keep in mind that even if you're not quite ready to create your trust right now, you can start by creating a will. I think that, similar to the letter of intent, a will is a great start before you establish a special needs trust. So what it does is, you know, having that will is more cost effective, and it makes sure that your wishes are expressed in the event of a passing. So if you do it online, you know, you can use an online service called like Trust and Will, and you can upgrade to a trust at any time. Even, you know, they'll apply the cost of creating your will to the trust if you decide to take that next step. So if you're not sure about which path to take, establishing a will or establishing a trust, the easiest way to think about it is that wills tend to be a simpler route, whereas trusts can be a bit more complex. Special needs trusts also absolutely require, well, not absolutely require, but it's highly recommended that you contact an attorney who is experienced in setting up special needs trusts. One of the main differences is that a will is not effective until you pass away. A trust goes into effect as soon as you create it. So even if you're still around, that trust is in effect. The will doesn't become active until you're passing. So you can use a will to name guardians, to plan any final arrangements, and state how you want your assets to be passed down and who you want everything to go to. Trusts are a stronger control piece over asset distribution. They offer that privacy. Like a will goes through probate, which is the process by which the court distributes your estate per your instructions, where they read it aloud for everyone to hear. A trust is private. And then the trust also offers protection, since your trust owns the assets, not you, if that makes sense. So I think about going back to making sure that individuals don't lose their Medicaid benefits. If you leave your house to the trust, your son or daughter does not technically own it, therefore it will not affect their benefits. And the same goes for you while you're alive. If you have things in your trust, you technically don't own it, the trust owns it. So these are a couple of the resources that we recommend. Hinkle, Pryor and Fisher is a law firm. They specialize in services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. They also offer special education services. I will drop a absolutely shameless plug here. We are working with them on setting up free IEP reviews, one in North Jersey, one in Central Jersey, one in South Jersey. There'll be 30-minute consultations for families who are interested. We're getting the dates set up for that right now. We're looking at February, March, and April for those. So if you want to find out more about those, join our email list and you will get the email about those free IEP reviews. Check out our recorded webinars too. We have some recorded webinars with Plan NJ, with Disability Rights New Jersey, about estate planning, about benefits. And then, like I said, check out Plan NJ's website and check out Trust and Will too. Pretty cool resource. So also think about the funeral planning, right? There's a lot that goes into that. So you have to think about, where your final resting place will be, what will be included, if there's going to be an opportunity for people to sing or speak or anything. You want to basically have that in place so no one has to worry about making those decisions while they're trying to also go through the grieving process. So learn about what's involved in a funeral, plan in advance. You don't have to pay in advance. Normally people will have their life insurance policy cover funeral costs. You shop around though, find out what the costs are. Understand like the package deal of everything, and only get what you want. Don't let someone talk you into things that you don't want included in your end of life planning. All right, so there are public assistance funerals as well if families, don't have the funds, you can call your county board of social services and they're able to help you out with public assistance funeral. Okay. And these are some resources for funeral planning. Think about NJSFDA, funeral and burial assistance. The last one that's on here, Medicaid public assistance funeral, I think is a really great resource as well. So immediately after somebody passes away, you get a legal pronouncement of death. You tell friends and family first. You find out about any existing funeral and burial plans, which should be discussed. Have the individuals that, and I shouldn't say you should have the individuals know this, because if you've already passed away, then you can't really have them do anything. But just ahead of time, make sure that they're aware of where all that paperwork is located, right? Let them know it's in the specific drawer. If it's in a safe, this is the code. Within a few days of death, have those funeral, burial, or cremation arrangements made. Secure any properties if necessary. Provide care for pets. That's something that a lot of people don't think about, is if they have pets, who's going to care for them in the event of a passing. And then if the individual is still working, notify their employer. AARP also offers a pretty comprehensive checklist that you can take a look at. So a couple of weeks after someone passes away, you'll start to look at those copies, of the death certificate. You find the will and the executor of any estate. Meet with the trust and the estate attorney to make sure everything goes through properly. If you have a will, you take it to probate. You make an inventory of all assets. You track down the assets. You make a list of bills, and you cancel services no longer needed. Nobody wants to be paying for their mom or dad's Netflix account for the next 10 years, right? So make sure that any services are canceled. Now, there's a reason that I list all of these things here. And, it is important to know this information, but I think the main reason that I put all this here is to show you how much really goes into the planning of someone passing away. And for, an individual with a disability, if they are an only child and there's no other family members, a lot may fall on them. Depending on the circumstances, even if they have a sibling that is going to be the primary caregiver. This is a ton of information, and this is why I put all this on here to show how important it is to have this set up ahead of time, because this seems like a lot when we're not grieving, right? But when we're grieving, this is going to seem like twice as much responsibility. And that's why you want to have it set up and ready to go. All right, so you have to notify a few different organizations and agencies about the loved one's death, or if the loved one about your death, if it's that scenario. The Social Security Administration, life insurance companies, banks and financial institutions, any financial advisors, credit agencies. You have to cancel the driver's license, close credit card accounts, terminate insurance policies, delete or memorialize social media accounts. This is a lot of responsibility. It's a lot. Have it all in your letter of intent. Have it in your will. Who will take care of all of these things? And also let them know that they'll be taking care of it, so they are ready to do so. Okay. It's a difficult conversation. I think I started the presentation by mentioning that, but it's a conversation that has to happen. So get all your ideas on paper, bring everybody together, buy them dinner, right? Because it's going to be a long night. Engage them on everything. Talk about how important it is. Remain compassionate but firm. Be matter of fact about things. You can let people know, look, everything's okay. I'm in good health, but I just want to make sure that everything is in place just in case. Because sometimes when a parent says to their kids, I think it's time we sat down to talk about my will, the wheels start turning, right? Thinking, oh, what's happening? Are they sick? Are they not telling us things? Just be matter of fact, let them know everything's fine. I just want to make sure that this is in place for your benefit. Okay. If they want to be more involved in end of life planning too, they can start accompanying people to doctor's appointments, helping you with putting plans in writing. Okay. And like I said, keep things flexible. Things change over time. You know, if you sell a house, that's going to change the plan, obviously, right? If you move to a different place, that's going to change the plan, obviously. But yeah, you want to just make sure that it's flexible, and that's why reviewing it annually is really important. Okay, so these are just some general resources here. The ARC of New Jersey Family Institute, that's the program at the ARC that developed this presentation. They have a ton of resources. I always recommend checking out their go bags. The go bags are a compilation of information and resources for specific topics. So they have the advanced care planning go bag, which is mentioned on here. They have the guardianship go bag. They have an IEP go bag. They have applying for DDD. Anything under the sun, they have a go bag about it and can help you through the process of everything. Take a look at Trust and Will. Reach out to Plan NJ. You can read about the ABLE account, ABLE accounts, and the ABLE Act, which stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. There's a full go bag on ABLE accounts and how to set one up. And then all of our webinars are always recorded as well, so you can view the ones from Plan NJ or about guardianship or end of life planning or advanced care. There's a ton of recorded webinars on there. I definitely recommend checking it out. I do also want to say, when you go to the ARC of New Jersey Family Institute website, which I hope you all will, just make sure you sign up for the newsletter, and that'll keep you in the loop about everything going on. And when you sign up for that newsletter, there's options to also get on the list for mainstreaming medical care and the other programs as well. So you can access all of those programs through that same sign up form.
Thank you, Michael, for coming today. It was a great education. A lot of, I mean, it's kind of scary how much we have to think of, but it's better now than never, right? So this is like
Yes.
information. Thanks so much for sharing, and we appreciate your time and, you know, explaining with so much patience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, it's a very long list of things that need to be taken care of. But
Yeah.
if you do it a little bit at a time, it's like holiday shopping, right? You do a little bit at a time, and it doesn't seem so overwhelming. I just want to thank you so much for inviting me out to present today. Again, if anyone has specific questions, send me an email, give me a phone call, whatever is easiest for you. Make sure you check out our website, www.thearcfamilyinstitute.org. Sign up for our email list and give us a follow on our social media accounts. Our Facebook account at the ARC of NJ Family Institute. You'll be able to see me every Monday for a special education chat. And then follow our Twitter and Instagram accounts as well at the ARC NJFI. Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thanks.
Thank you so
I appreciate you
much.
taking time. Thanks so much. Very helpful session.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.